Welcome to Btekt guys, David here, and this time I want to take a proper look at the OnePlus 7 Pro camera. We're going to have a good look at some of the photos that I've taken over the last couple of weeks, and we'll have a good rundown through the camera app, which is actually quite a simple camera app in comparison to other flagships that I can mention. Remember that this phone and all of the other phones that we review here at Btekt can be found on the Direct Mobile's website, where you can compare all the contract deals from all available dealers, including the full lineup of 5G handsets, which have just launched in the UK. Oh, and did I mention that they have over 24 years of award-winning customer service? So check them out in the video description below, or search directmobiles.co.uk. OnePlus 7 Pro is an all-round great phone. There has been quite a few all-screen handsets released lately, but none of them have taken the quality of the screen so seriously. This one is working with probably one of the best displays out at the moment. It really is a great screen for doing pretty much anything, and overall it's the best thing about this phone, I think. Some people may not get on with the curved display, but I like it. The bezels are really thin and that chin is one of the smallest that I've seen. But why am I banging on about the screen when this video is about the camera? Well, nobody takes pictures off their phone really, so having a good screen is an essential part, in my opinion, of having a good camera. Not to mention that it is the viewfinder, so it really is part of the camera. Plus, when you want to watch back your videos, it does help to have a nice screen. We've got 60 frames per second 4K, although it is limited to 5 minutes in length. The video bitrate is even higher than my GH5, made possible by the USF 3.0 ultra-fast storage. I noticed that the low light capabilities do suffer a little bit if you go to 60 frames per second, whether that's if you're in 1080p resolution or in 4K. The low light is actually pretty bad when you're shooting at 60p, so just keep that in mind. The video stabilization at 4K is very good, but if you drop down to 1080p then it's almost perfectly smooth. But one thing that's a little bit of a letdown for the video is that you can't shoot with the ultra wide angle lens, which I have to admit is a little bit disappointing because I do love an ultra wide angle camera. Although one thing that I do like with this video is that the zoom in is very smooth. It's almost as if you're zooming with a proper lens on a DSLR camera, although it very much is a digital zoom. One thing that I and many reviewers first thought about this phone is that it had a 3x optical zoom, but it doesn't, it just crops in to simulate the zoom. I do think that is where OnePlus tend to try and make some of their savings inside the camera system. Not to say that it's a bad camera, in fact even the OnePlus 6T isn't really a bad camera, it just seems to be missing a few technical details that some of the other flagships might have. But one feature it does have is the night sight. Now I haven't been overly impressed with the pictures that I'm getting from the night sight. It definitely needs more light than other systems to perform well, and although the shot is taken very quickly, the stabilization doesn't really seem to be that good. I've taken quite a few shots where I thought I was holding the camera pretty still, but yet I still get a fairly blurred shot. Now for the few weeks that I've had this phone, I've had 3 updates through, and the picture quality does seem to be improving. Picture quality is pretty good, but it's not on the same level as the direct competition, say the Galaxy S10 and the P30 Pro. But the ultra wide angle lens does seem to have a little bit less distortion than other phones that I've used. And although it may not be a fully optical zoom, I do like the focal length of the 3x lens. Shooting in portrait mode also gives you a fairly heavy crop, but then again it is quite a good focal length for portraits, although it is a little bit too zoomed in to be taking selfies with the rear camera. There's not much options with the portrait mode, you only get beautifying effect options. You can't increase the amount of blur or change the shape of the bokeh balls or anything like that. It's just a straight up good performing portrait mode, and it doesn't go mad with the background blur either. It's fairly subtle, which does help to make it look more natural. If we look in the camera app, and I do like the design, it is quite user friendly with just 4 shooting modes on the main screen, with more if you swipe up from the middle, including the settings where you can, if you want to, move all the shooting modes to the main screen. There is a few interesting controls with the settings. We get wide angle correction, manual HDR control and smart content detection. Turn this on and your camera will recognize emails and websites, names, phone numbers and QR codes all displayed within your camera preview. You get the usual settings, quick capture, store location data, and for the Pro mode you get options to show the histogram and the horizontal reference line to make sure that your photos are straight. Still under the More shelf you get the usual panorama and time-lapse modes, which are bog standard really. We also get the Pro mode, which is the only way that you can shoot at 48 megapixels. When shooting in a regular photo mode, it will combine 4 pixels into one to give you a 12 megapixel image. If you want to use 48 megapixels, you have to come to Pro mode and tap the icon at the top and select JPEG 48. You can shoot RAW with the OnePlus 7 Pro, however it will be at 12 megapixels. The Pro mode itself is pretty good. You get a maximum ISO of 3200 and the longest shutter speed is 30 seconds while the fastest is 1/8000th of a second. My favourite mode here though is super slow motion, shot at 480 frames per second in 720p for 1 minute duration, or continuously at 240 frames per second in 1080p. The 480 frames per second is real and it's not that simulated stuff that you see on a lot of other phones. Although it's not the 960 frame per second stuff that we're getting on other flagships, it still is an incredibly fast frame rate and it makes for some spectacular videos. And the 1 minute recording duration makes it nice and easy to get the shot that you want. And then of course, when you want to watch it back, you get the pleasure of doing so on this beautiful screen. Let me talk about the pop-up camera for a bit, because I thought it would be more of a problem activating it without me knowing and moving around in my pocket or something, but I've had no issues with it at all. It never gets in the way and it is pretty cool, I have to admit. The novelty of it does wear off pretty quickly, but you do appreciate it as it does free up this screen. The 16 megapixel camera in there is actually pretty good as far as selfie cameras go. Video resolution maxes out at 1080p and gives you nice smooth footage. As a camera phone, well, for photos at least, there are better options out there. The obvious one being the P30 Pro, if you're brave enough to go there. But the video does step it up a bit and it beats the P30 Pro hands down. It really is a shame that you can't shoot video with that ultra wide angle lens, but I wouldn't put it past OnePlus to come out with an update pretty soon to address this. Okay, so it's not the best camera phone on the market, but overall this is a stunning phone. The camera is steadily improving with each update, and even in the state it is now, it definitely doesn't disappoint. I'll have a tips and tricks video out for the OnePlus 7 Pro tomorrow, so if you're interested in that, then hit the subscribe button, double tap notifications and smash the like button. More reviews and comparisons on the way. Also follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, it's at Btekt, or add me on Snapchat, david.btekt. That's it for now, thanks for watching. My name's David, this is Btekt.